Hello and welcome back to F1 Isn't Real. I am your host, Ben Webble, joined as always by my good friend and compatriot, Amesh V1. And this week, we will be dissecting the 2024 Dutch Grand Prix, as well as the Italian Grand Prix that just ended this Sunday in yet another double episode. Amesh, I don't know about you, but I think F1 is officially back.
Yeah, it definitely is back then. The last two races we've had quite an eventful. It's been quite an eventful period with the last two races. Another Lando Norris win. That's two this season. It was quite underwhelming, I would say, though. I mean, there was not as much excitement about it compared to his first win, and I think that's something I think we should reflect on in this episode.
But 22 seconds, Amish, that's pretty
It
unstoppable.
is very big, yeah, it is big, but I think it just goes to show like the development of McLaren and the lack of development for Red Bull. But I think even still, we've spoken about this before about Lando Norris, him being what did you call him? Like a brat about his him being harsh on himself. And I think even standing on the top step of the podium in the Dutch Grand Prix, he didn't seem as excited as the rest of his fans are. I don't know. I think it's not cockiness, but something I sense a lack of modesty there, you know. But what do you think, Ben?
I like to call it the Max Verstappen mindset. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
faction in first place in one race. There's only satisfaction in the true prize, which is the World Drivers' Championship at the end of the season. And I don't think that's Norris's main problem. As we were discussing a couple of weeks ago, I think Norris's main issue is not the fact that he has this almost insatiable desire to win, but rather the way in which he strives to win, which is through complaint and through hissy fits and through a lack of cooperation. And I think that's his true issue. And that's something else that Max Verstappen suffered with in his early years, which he soon developed out of. And now we have this Max Verstappen who, as of late, when he's being challenged for his championship status by the likes of Norris, is reverting to these methods of, I guess, displaying his anger and frustration through these explicit radio messages that we looked through last weekend. And I think Norris is one of those. He's one of that breed that just won't ever do it in the calm way. Will always get what he wants through almost ensuring that his team is 100% behind him. Otherwise, he's not 100% behind his team, which I don't think is a very good environment in which a young driver such as Oscar Piastri can grow and flourish.
yeah. I definitely agree. I think it's one of those things that it's like Marmite. You either hate it or you love it. If we look at the if we look at the race stats, Lando Norris qualified on pole again. Another one for him. And also, what I've been noticing, especially on social media, a new trend has been rising. Uh, Lando Norris sort of bottling the win on the first lap, and I think that's something that the team as well as the driver needs to develop on. Look, we have what 4/10 between Lando and Max in qualifying for the Dutch Grand Prix. And although he did win the race, the first lap he lost the lead, and I think that's something that's hindering his performance, especially at the front end of the grid. But yeah, like you said about his attitude, I think it's you definitely do need the winner mindset, the Max Verstappen mindset, like you just said, to be great in Formula One. Look at the likes of Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton, and even now Max Verstappen. When they're winning, they will know that they're the best, and I think that's important because if you don't fully understand it or don't fully believe it, then that ultimately stops you from winning in the end. But I think there does come to a point where drivers like Lando Norris do need to sort of take a step back and not, how do you call it, not be too harsh on yourself because you're second place. I mean, it's a bit of a weird situation. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I don't think there's any more damning a condemnation of Lando Norris's errors at the start of Grand Prix than this weekend, in which
Yeah,
he argued that in the long run, his mistake in the first, or not mistake, but his lack of focus and composure in the opening lap cost him a Grand Prix on this occasion, cost him perhaps second place as well. And this is a race in which Max Verstappen finished sixth. Norris could have increased reduced the deficit that Max Verstappen has created at the start of the season even further had it not been for his first lap incident yet again. And for all that it's funny to laugh about Norris's mistakes, it's also, something that
a
I think
pretty serious matter. Yeah,
work it out,
especially for the team.
especially for the team who are fighting for a World Constructors' Championship. But at the moment, that's not looking awfully up for contention, is it? Red Bull seem to be completely dropping the ball. And why do you think it is that McLaren have come out to such a hot start this in the start to in the start to the autumn season of Formula One?
Well, I don't. I wouldn't say there's a major upgrade for McLaren this part of the season. I think it was towards the end, and I think especially from maybe around Austria, I think that's when McLaren sort of hit a peak in performance. But obviously, due to racing incidents, McLaren haven't been able to extract as many points. But in terms of Red Bull as well, if we look at this week in particular. I think Monza definitely doesn't suit them. And I think they haven't brought any upgrades and their car is becoming more and more difficult to drive. If you listen to Max Verstappen's radio, he's becoming more and more, what's it called? He's complaining a lot more about how the car is driving. We know for a fact that Max Verstappen likes a oversteering car, and that's something that not many drivers can would prefer. Most drivers would prefer understeering car. And at a track like Monza, where it's low downforce, it's pretty difficult for Red Bull to produce a car which is sort of twitchy like Max Verstappen wants. So I think that's another reason why they were lacking performance over the Italian Grand Prix weekend. If you look at the Constructors' Championship as well, we have what not far behind. Uh, McLaren are not far behind from Red Bull, and I
Eight,
think yeah, 18. Did you say?
eight
Yeah.
points.
Oh, eight. Sorry, eight. Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at it now. It's eight. Yeah, 8 points. It's not a lot, and I think I remember overhearing Crofty say during the race that the live drivers championship, the live constructors championship, sorry, Red Bull would be level on points with McLaren. But this was at the stage of the Grand Prix when Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri were running one and two. So obviously that didn't end up happening. But it just goes to show the um, the boost of performance McLaren have, and they've sort of reduced the deficit that they have to Red Bull, especially in recent races.
Verstappen's gone six races without a GP victory, which is for me as a tired Formula One fan, is an absolute breath of fresh air. We have seen some true variety over the past few months that anybody would be just licking their lips at in the midst of the 2023 season. Um, that's the longest win drought for the Dutchman without a retirement in that interim race period since a 10 race stretch between Mexico 2018 and Austria 2019. Amesh, this is getting pretty serious down at Red Bull. Alarm bells are ringing in the heads of Christian Horner, in the heads of Helmut Marko, and most certainly in the head of Max Verstappen. Norris is 62 points behind. Is Max the problem?
Well, what you just said there, 62 points, that is a big number. I would say if you look at a championship like 2021, 62 points is very difficult to come back from. Only the likes of Lewis Hamilton would were able to do so. I don't to answer your question, I don't think it's a Max Verstappen issue. I think it's an internal issue with the team. It seems like Red Bull don't fully understand what they're doing, which is surprising, seeing as they're three year. win streak and all the accolades that they've been collecting along the way. Um, Something's definitely going wrong. We've seen it from the beginning of the year of the season with the Christian Horner incident. Helmut Marko, he's been quite quiet. I haven't really heard much about him in F1 news, but I think, yeah, something is definitely going down. I'm not quite sure what is.
I just think back to last year and the year before, where it was almost, Max Verstappen could line up in 20th or he could line up in second and he would still take the win. He could come back from almost any deficit that qualifying had thrown him. He could do it completely independent of Sergio Perez's help. And now we're just seeing him, qualify very poorly and then not convert it in the race whatsoever. And for sure, it's a car issue for the vast majority of it. But you know, I, part of me thinks that maybe Max Verstappen might have lost a little bit of his edge, maybe become a bit too complacent in the start of the season. Do you think that there's any world in which this is going to come out with him completely throwing away the championship, or is Norris too far back? Is he the same caliber as the likes of Hamilton?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, it's difficult to say. I mean, looking at this weekend, I remember just before the race started, I was watching an interview along the pit wall with Max Verstappen, and he was, he seemed like he kept his cool. He sort of, you could sense a bit of blame, not blame, but a bit of infliction on the team. I think on a personal, on a driver level, Max Verstappen has got it under control. He's got the mindset still because he's got that experience and history underneath his belt, that he can win. He knows how to win a championship and many races. So I don't think it's a driver error. I definitely think it's a technical error with the car and the team. We've been hearing him complain about strategy. Um, the pit wall, there's definitely a lot of pressure on him, and you can see the relationship between his race engineer, Lambiase, GP, and Max Verstappen. It's they're not doing a as good of a job as covering it up. You can sense a bit of tension going on there, and they've always been like this, but in times like these where races haven't been won, there's there's a lot of stake at the moment on the Red Bull team.
I think they're botching it, to be honest, at the moment. I've never seen Red Bull flounder this badly or this poorly since perhaps their handling of the Verstappen Ricardo tussle back in 2018. It's just Perez is out of the picture. He's
Mm.
lost. He's in the woods. He's out in the woods. He's somewhere, chopping lumber. I don't know what he's doing. Completely anonymous so far in the latter stages of this season. Verstappen is becoming an afterthought at the front, which is mind-boggling for an F1 fan to be considering at the start of this year. Remember back to we were talking about, can Max Verstappen take every single Grand Prix this season at the start of the year? That is no, we're a long way from that. Um, I think it could potentially even go downhill with the new technical regulations coming into place in 2026, and then even more so in the years following that. And if you recall back to the technical regulations that came into place at the start of the 2022 season, they cut down Mercedes's advantage over the field tremendously. Um, and everybody was thinking, oh, they're sandbagging. And then as you get to the season, they're nowhere to be found in the top five. And this could potentially happen to Red Bull too. And they're already seemingly on the way out. I don't know what it is. Adrian Newey has designed this car. Um, I have no true explanation, Amos. Do you know any kind of technical reason why the Red Bull is just fallen